Yeah, this is the comb, and these are the wattles. So all this.
Frank Duda knows chickens. He's raising more than 100 roosters, from blues to spangles to lacies.
And they're lacies, but they're noted for cutting.
But Duda doesn't raise cocks for food. He does it for show, and he does it for sport.
It's something I was raised with. And our forefathers fought chickens. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln was a referee at times.
Duda was one of 21 people arrested Sunday morning at this farm in Medina County. He was at a cockfight.
We were sitting there at ringside, and next thing I know, somebody busted in, and they're like, this is a raid, and we just thought somebody was pranking.
But it wasn't a joke. They were all charged with animal cruelty, and the farm's owner also faces a gambling charge. But Duda says cockfighting isn't worth ruffling your feathers over.
We're not hardened criminals.
But you do know that it's illegal here in Ohio.
Yes.
But Duda says it is legal in Louisiana, where he takes his birds, and he thinks this sport should be legal here.
Have you ever been charged with this before?
First time ever. I'm 35 years old.
Duda wouldn't say whether his roosters were part of the 26 rescued from the fight, and he wouldn't show us any of the weapons put on their legs to intensify the fighting.
I would never intentionally do anything to hurt an animal. I mean, you can see how well I raise these birds.
But how he raises roosters isn't in question. What got him charged with animal cruelty is watching them die. It may be the Cavs' #1 draft pick getting the highlights in Vegas, but under basket, 00 is in the middle of his own highlight.
I always wanted to come here. It was one of my biggest dreams and one of my goals.
But playing in the NBA was the furthest thing from Darnell Jackson's mind just a year and a half ago. He quit school and basketball.
To help. My mom needed me, and I needed to be there. I remember when I went home, and the only thing that was in the kitchen was noodles. The icebox was empty, and it just crushed me.
You see, the Jackson family has seen its fair share of heartache. It started when Darnell's estranged father was shot and killed by Oklahoma City police. Months later, Darnell was arrested for throwing rocks through windows.
I got in trouble when I was younger, and I had to do community service at the Boys and Girls Club.
Although he'd never played basketball, at 14 he was well above 6 feet, and someone there took notice.
Every day that I went in, Corey Colbert, my mentor, used to make me play every day.
It paid off. Darnell made varsity his freshman year, but when he got to Kansas, the highlights faded. And in 2005, his world collided with that of a drunk driver.
High off cocaine, marijuana, and he was drunk.
Darnell's mother and grandmother were driving back from Las Vegas when a car driven by Christopher Robinson hit them head-on.
In the hospital, she told me that she didn't want to drive back. She told my grandma, she was like, let's go to the casino and win some money so we can park the car and we can both fly back. And my mom told me, like, they both flew back. She flew back with broken bones, and my grandma flew back in a box.
His grandmother, who helped raise him, died. The 18-year-old driver sent to prison.
He called me one day before practice. He just wanted to call and apologize, but I didn't answer the phone.
Darnell's mother, Shawn, was permanently disabled in the crash, unable to work and provide for Darnell's younger brother and sister. And that brings us back to the night he left school in 2007.
I don't want to see my family in the street. If I was the one that had to get that job, I would have got that job.
But Kansas coach Bill Self helped convince Darnell the best way to help was to get a degree.
So, I just want to know that when I leave here, I hope that I have a place in your heart when I'm home, because you can help me out a lot. I'm looking for that paper.
He returned to school and was still there a year later to give this speech on senior night. In fact, he came back that next season better than ever. Every shot a point for his future, every free throw from his heart to his grandmother.
Listen to this reception right here. Darnell Jackson.
Darnell graduated in May, drafted in June, but he keeps the photos from his past in his phone. Motivation. And he's encouraging other young people to find theirs.
You have to be smart about what you're doing and just make sure you have the right people in your circle.
As a second-round pick, Darnell's future in the NBA isn't guaranteed. He may never get the highlight, but in the game of life, it's clear this young man is already an MVP. Joy Benedict, News Channel 5.
I don't want to pay more than I have to pay.
It's a thought weighing on shoppers like Carol Fontaine every time she sees the scale, getting from here to here without paying too much. Our 5 on Your Side consumer investigation exposes how you can be cheated.
We are pretty tight shoppers.
Carol and her daughter weigh everything before they check out.
They'll give you a good idea of how much you've actually purchased.
Mike Nix is an inspector with the Summit County Auditor's Office. He and his co-workers visit this Twinsburg Giant Eagle and every other store in the county every 3 or 4 months.
15.
One by one, they check each scale for accuracy.
Anything that's weighed or measured, we do.
These inspectors say they rarely see a grocery scale fail, and this store has a great record. The problem comes from operator error.
You want to make sure you're paying for the product and not the container.
When you buy food sold by weight, like deli meat, chicken tenders, or your salad, you're legally only supposed to pay for the weight of the food, not what's holding it. For example, each container at this Olive Bar has a different register code.
Once they put this number in on their system, it'll bring up an automatic tear.
At least, it's supposed to. So we decided to do some shopping of our own. With our hidden camera rolling, we visited 5 grocery store chains, purchasing 32 items sold by weight, everything from seafood to salad. We then brought it all back to our studio, and with a borrowed scale from the auditor's office, we weighed our purchases.
These are aroma tomatoes.
We found we were overcharged for 10 items. That's almost a third of what we bought. Our biggest discrepancy came from this Cleveland Walmart Supercenter. We paid more than $10 for what was supposed to be 4.37 pounds of chicken breasts. The chicken with packaging weighed in at 4.45 pounds. When we dumped out the chicken, the packaging alone weighed close to half a pound. At $2.50 per pound, that's 85 cents worth of packaging. And when Walmart weighed this chicken salad sandwich, they didn't account for the packaging at all, costing us another 8 cents. And the same was true at Heinen's when we picked up this stuffed mushroom. The label weight was just above half a pound, the same weight we got when it was still in its packaging, meaning we overpaid again 19 cents.
Crab legs are something you want to watch out for because they're so expensive at $10.99 a pound.
And when we purchased $14 worth of crab legs at this Rocky River Giant Eagle, we didn't know we were paying 41 cents for the weight of the styrofoam tray. Although there's not much you can do at checkout when you buy prepackaged items, there's a lot you can do when it comes to your produce that's weighed at the register.
Look for a 0.
Make sure nothing is obstructing the scale when your food is being weighed. See how this Walmart checker wears a long name tag? When she leaned over to weigh our produce, it fell on the scale almost every time. Although it did not affect our produce weight this trip, look at my receipt from weeks before. My 3 nectarines weighed in at more than 4 pounds. My 3 plums, 2.8 pounds.
If you don't think it's correct, then ask for it to be reweighed.
I did, and the receipt was corrected.
Tough times. You want to get the best for your money.
Which means being observant, knowing what you're buying, and not being afraid to call out a shifty scale. We asked all 3 stores to comment on the discrepancies we found. Walmart did not respond. Heinen's and Giant Eagle both responded immediately. Heinen says it considers this an isolated incident, but says they will make sure their defined practices are understood and followed. Giant Eagle says our investigation uncovered a problem in the seafood department at that store. They have since addressed the issue with the scale and retrained employees. Both Giant Eagle and Heinen's have excellent records with the county. For the company's complete statements, log on to newsnet5.com. On your side, I'm Joy Benedict, News Channel 5. Running a household of 5 is no easy task. Just ask Julie Kenworthy.
I clean every day.
Because in addition to making mini sandwiches, she keeps up and cleans up after her 18-month-old twins, her daughter, and a surely untidy anchor of a husband.
He's just a messy eater. He's a big eater, and he just kind of eats like the Cookie Monster.
Julie's talking about Max, not Pete. Max munches, Tommy chews, but when you have only 5 teeth, rarely does all the food make it in the mouth.
Every day I clean the floor. I sweep the floor probably 5 times a day.
And we can see why. But what if this mess wasn't such a hassle?
It's cordless and it says it picks up like no other.
Enter the Swivel Sweeper. It may be sweeping up sales, but does it really do that?
Maybe the dry items, but banana and dirt.
This skeptical mom agreed to try it, but first we had to dirty up her house a little. Although the kitchen came easy, getting the twins to mess up the family room, not so easy.
Can you do that?
We tried to show them how to knock over a plant and play with their food, but they just kept pushing everything away from the edge. Must have been the camera, so we helped a little.
Uh-oh! go.
No use crying over spilled dirt, Tommy. We've got the Swivel Sweeper. Crumbs in the kitchen were no match for the sweeper's swiveling brushes, but the boys ate bananas.
Should I just go for it?
Why not? Our bananas were smushed more than swept, but eventually they too came off the floor. And although it was easy to open, it didn't really empty, which meant getting our fingers dirty to clean wet food out of the brushes. Yuck! As for the dirt, not disastrous. It was small but mighty and made a mockery of our dropped raisins. The swiveling head maneuvered its way around toys and furniture.
It was kind of nice on the carpet, because then you're not dragging out the vacuum.
So yes, the Swivel Sweeper did what it claimed to do, but Julie's still not sold. I mean, she's got Max. But for around $40, it's a better option than keeping the boys in the cupboards. Joy Benedict, News Channel 5.
Hey, Max.
The broken glass and ashes make it clear what happened in this East Side home. But if these charred walls could talk, they would surely mention this man.
I hope you don't put this on it.
Jerry Thomas is a little camera shy. In fact, few on Cleveland Road knew his name, but one family sure is thankful he was standing outside at about 10 Sunday morning.
The nurse or whatever came running out the house and help.
Jerry saw smoke, then heard a 10-year-old girl was still inside and he took off running.
Kicked the door in, she's scared. She's standing at the top of the stairs, scared.
But that little girl wasn't the only one here. She lives in this home with her mother and 72-year-old grandmother, Irma Nimmons.
She's non-ambulatory. She suffered a stroke in November of 2009.
Victor had just moved his mom back into her house. They had her hospital bed set up in the dining room, and although Jerry couldn't see her through the smoke, he heard her plead.
I had forgot she was even in there. But when I went to go get the baby, the mother, the grandmother, she like, don't let me die like this.
That's when Jerry didn't hesitate to grab Miss Nimmons' bed, push it as far as he could to the front door, then he lifted her up and carried her outside to safety.
He said that every step he took, the heat and the smoke knocked him back down to his knees.
And since the electrical fire started here, Jerry had to walk past this burning room not once, but twice to rescue two people he barely knew.
God places people, and he didn't have to help.
But if he hadn't, Victor may have lost a niece, a mother, a lot more than his childhood home. So even though Jerry doesn't think he deserves it, hero is the new name for this quiet man next door. Joy Benedict, 19 Action News.